Welcome to the CounselorChannel.com, where the community of counselors come to retrieve the best, most current information in the field of addiction and more. Let's dive in. All right, I'm Jason Ellis, and I'm here with Josh Andrus. And today on the program, Josh is going to be talking to us about basic counseling skills. I mean, things that need to be known that are often overlooked. And I mean, let's get back to the basics. So, what do we got, Josh?
Well, you know, it's a good point that you bring up. And so we'll talk about it a little bit later on in the program, but definitely want to talk a little bit about why the need right now. Okay. There's so many counselors, and I'm actually more on the side of characteristics versus skills today. Is what I really want to touch on, and that's because there's a whole lot of counselors that feel like they're counselors, and a counselor has certain characteristics that are important. Later on, I'll talk to you about how you can get access to all the, the four most important ones. But right now, what I want to talk about is empathy, for example.
Yeah.
And the opposite of empathy, where some counselors think they're being effective, but they're really not. There's sympathy and empathy, and there's a huge difference between the two. But there's a whole lot of discussion about the characteristics, and counselors will think that they're actually doing and being that of a counselor with those characteristics, but not even there. So, we were talking the other day about some of that.
And I think empathy is a huge one. How do I put myself in their shoes without wanting to tell them, like, no, you're just messing up? I don't know. Empathy is definitely needed, but what is it that you mean?
Because we're working together a lot on the motivational interviewing, and empathy is so necessary.
Huge, definitely.
But then, genuineness goes along with that. Again, the whole description of all these is later on, and I'll tell you how you can get access to that. To me, the biggest problem, though, is in the field when you have seasoned counselors that think they have the counselor characteristics down pat.
Yeah.
But then you go and watch tape, and nothing could be further from the truth. And so that's really the broad topic for drug and alcohol counseling today. And again, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag about where you're going to get all the details from this, but I just want to bring it up as a huge need to brush up on the counselor characteristics. Later on, we'll talk about the basics of the counselor skills, but right now, counselor characteristics. Point being is it's sorely missed in the field, and more on that a little bit later on. But before we get to that, Jason's going to cover about some exciting things.
We got some new stuff coming up, all right? And as we talked about last week, there were some conventions, and the week before that, there always seems to be conventions, like regular conventional conventions. Well, I got some news. We're coming up in a week, right? Next week, a little later than that it's a unconventional convention. And you're probably saying, like, well, what the heck is that? What's an unconventional convention?
I read this email. I was like, wow, seriously? That they're just going straight for looking like they're nonconformists.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. Yeah,
let's not follow the rules, right? And by that, you're not gonna be gathered with all these PowerPoints and a whole bunch of information.
That's the non-conventional side.
Yeah, and so the cool thing is, where all these people come who care, who want to make a difference, and it's like an open forum discussion. It's bringing in new ideas. I'm not the expert. I have all you guys that actually work in the field. Let me know what works best, and let's put all of our ideas together so we leave there with a lot more information on how to use this in practice, how to teach this, what's the best way to do this, and it's all coming from experts like you, like us. I mean, it's kind of cool. Thinking outside the box.
Yeah. It's the whole idea that the sum of all the parts is better than the one, and it's like when you have somebody at the front of the room putting on the expert hat cap. There's a venue and a forum for that, but this is not that forum. It's the anti-forum for that. It's the other side of that forum, where there's enough humility in the room to think that everybody in here has something to offer. Yeah. Everybody in here has experiences to offer, and I love that.
They partnered with KDAC, and I looked at some of the guests that are coming. I mean, they got commissioners, head commissioners, judges. They got the president of ASAM currently, American Society of Addiction Medicine, which is huge.
Nailed that acronym, by the way.
Yeah, and they got all these people from drug court, people from San Diego, from Northern California, everyone. It's going to be huge. They have special rates. It is a convention, so it does cost a fee, but again, it's an unconventional convention. So
never going to see.
With that, it's good to see that they're open-minded to new ideas and finding out the information from you on what works best. So,
like a round table convention, I love that, and it's so many times you probably feel like when you go to trainings that you have something to offer in that area. So this is not only the Q&A session you'd see in the training, but it's exclusively the Q&A and comment portion of that. So
yeah,
it should be really interesting, and I think it's really kind of courageous that they take that.
It is. It's
approach.
taking a step out of the box, right?
Yeah.
But also another thing, I'm a training guru, right? And I love all these trainings that I go to. Mm-hmm. However, I leave there thinking like, man, it's just the same stuff over and over again. I mean, when is something new going to come up?
And I think it takes a guru to really understand that it's the same stuff.
So I'm glad that I'm seeing this new stuff, and who knows, it might become a trend. This is the first.
Right after this video, if you guys could witness it, Jason's going to be in the praying mantis stand as the guru, and he'll be floating as he chants the counselor characteristics.
For sure.
And the counselor,
I'll be in a lotus stance.
All right. The guru, the training guru.
On.
So the other thing is, I told you that I'd get back to this. I let you know that I'd get back to where you can get all this. So for the article this week, I'm really excited to let you know, and this is not original stuff, but I went through and defined each of the characteristics of a counselor. And for example, I go through cold to what characteristic is most important, warmth. So I go over a full continuum of what is cold as counselor, and all the way to what it would look like if you were showing the counselor characteristic of warmth. What is comes across as fake, and what comes across as genuine, so to speak. So I go through each one of these characteristics, and you can get the links on our show notes for that article. And I would highly recommend, if you're a supervisor, use this and work with your supervisees, and also work with it as well as with using your supervision. Because a good counselor supervisor also has the characteristics as well. And I'd highly recommend, if you're a counselor in the field working with patients, you really do this as an assessment, a self-assessment of yourself, of your characteristics. And so I'm really excited for you guys to get that. I spent some time on it, and my parting gift to you on this week. So I really am excited that you'll be able to use that in your daily use.
Yeah, that's cool. And I did start us off with saying counselor skills. I meant to say counselor characteristics, which are so much...
Not a move a guru would do.
So much bigger than saying skills. The characteristics, I would always heard skills could be taught, characteristics you guys just have.
Come with,
right?
yeah.
So,
and that's, I think that's a good topic for debate, so let's do that right now.
Yeah.
The idea here is that there is certain things that when you're working with a counselor that you just see that's so against their nature. What I've found is that if I can work with them to highlight when I see even a chisel or a light of that, first of all, to bring the awareness, if they're looking at somebody else doing it. Second of all, if I see it in them to do that. My side of the debate would be see more and more of that. However, here's the thing. When working with a counselor, what I've noticed is if there's only just a chisel, to regress is so easy that I think I would side on the other side where you just can't teach it. I hope that makes sense.
Well, what is it that you're doing to teach it? I mean, are you just telling them, or you're actually supervising the group?
That's a great question, Jason. And actually, experience for me in this area is that not only have we watched tape, so that they see it, not only seeing it in a book.
Yeah.
That's interesting, but when you don't know what you don't know in the cycle of learning, then that might just go over somebody's head. But when you see it on the film, from somebody else modeling that, or you in your supervision role model it, pause and look at that, which role plays I really like within supervision because they get to see that. If there is some awareness light bulbs that go on, there's hope.
Okay.
If it's closed-minded, we all know that they're
going to stay in their ways, and they might feed you some stuff and go back.
So that's the first phase, is bringing the awareness. So now they know what they don't know.
Yeah.
I
got you.
But then the opportunity is to actually see it in action and challenge them in group. When you go into group, rather than sympathizing and try to rescuing somebody, why don't you empathize and try to go there with them and walk in that journey with them? That's where I would say that challenging them once or twice in a group to show us that with versus for, doing it for them, which is what sympathy leads to.
Yeah.
Or prescribing whatever they're going to prescribe. So that's really the battle there with empathy, but obviously their characteristics have that. So and
there's some stuff I don't know. For me, I'll have a hard time where, let's say, a female is talking about molestation and stuff. I have a hard time empathizing with that. So where I'll seek supervision to put myself there, but I don't feel comfortable. So I don't really. I get stuck in that point.
Yeah.
You know, where I'm like, oh, okay, I know empathy. I know the characteristics, but how am I really able to put myself there? And do I even really want to put myself there as a counselor? So
that's a great thing. And I remember when I was going to college with to kind of become a counselor, one of the things that I really took away that stuck with me, one of those gold nuggets, is exactly what along with what you're talking about. Is you don't want to be running the same rail of emotion at the intensity level as your patient, because you're never going to be able to lead them through.
Right? Yeah.
So I think that that's a great point that you make, and very courageous of you to talk about your area that you get stuck and the reason for co-facilitation in that area, and then supervision after or during if you have the bug in the ear scenario, and we have that capability. So at our facility, so if supervisors, for example, watching it live and seeing a counselor get stuck in that.
That's perfect. I just think the key here is you have supervision, you're watching tapes.
Yeah. Not
only are you watching tapes, you're role modeling it as a clinical supervisor, which it's good to see. I think that's how I learn best, by people role modeling.
Sure. So, and really the big thing, the reason why counselor characteristics and skills, like when you first brought it up, were combined, is making a process call or making some reflective listening actually combines you with that individual in an empathetic manner, but also let you seek out the common emotion involved with the molestation as well as with something else that you would have some common ground on.
Yeah.
Man, it sounded like you were really betrayed by that uncle.
Yeah.
That's the common ground.
Yeah, I got you.
So it's really that opportunity. So you brought a huge good point with that. I hope the viewers actually picked up on that. Yeah. I think that was some good content.
Yeah.
So that's the show for today.
Yep.
And really excited to have you joining us. And we'll see you next time.
All right. Here at the Counselor Channel, we'd like to congratulate you on your passion in making a difference.
Yeah, that really inspires us to continue bringing great content and in the pursuit of us all growing together in the addiction field.
Yeah, and help us out. I mean, leave a comment. Let us know what you want to hear about. And how can the Counselor Channel better serve you?
And also, if you haven't joined the community, the Counselor Channel community, it's a must. Please come on board today. All you have to do is go to thecounselorchannel.com and enroll now.
Until next time, expand your uniqueness in the field.
On behalf of Jason Allison, I'm Josh Andros. See you later.